Go ahead.
Judge, may I make a request of the court?
Yes.
I understand there may be some difficulty with some of the people being able to hear the witness, and that if that's the case, maybe somebody—if it's a lawyer or the jury—they could raise their hand and let us know so we can take action accordingly.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We're working on that problem. We're going to try and get a different mic for them.
That would be great. Thank you. I think where we left off was at Neverland Ranch.
Yes.
And you had described to us the arcade and the cellar inside the arcade.
Yes.
And I think what I asked you was, did you ever see your brothers drink at the ranch?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
Once.
And where?
It was in the wine cellar under the arcade.
And who else was present at that time?
Mr. Jackson, Gavin, Star and Aldo.
And what was going on when did you walk down there with them, or did you join them there?
No, I had always seen people walking down there and they would come up with cups. But I never knew what was really down there until one time I walked in, and I just followed them when they were going down.
And this is the one time you're talking about?
Yeah.
Alright, when you followed them in there, tell us what you saw.
When I walked into the wine cellar, I saw Mr. Jackson pouring wine into cups.
Into what?
Into cups.
Lean forward. I'm sorry, we got to do that. And how many cups?
I don't know. They were just cups. I don't remember how many there were.
Did everybody have one?
Yeah.
Did you see anybody drink out of it?
Yeah.
Who drank?
Well, I saw Gavin, Star and Aldo drinking.
Alright, anybody else?
Well, Mr. Jackson was drinking also.
Did you get offered something to drink?
Yes.
And did you take it?
Yes.
And what was it?
It was wine.
What makes you think it was wine?
I don't know, because it was clear and I don't know anything about liquor, so I don't know.
How did it taste?
Funny and, I don't know, weird.
Alright, were there any other occasions while you were at the ranch that you saw your brothers drinking with Mr. Jackson?
No.
Were there any other occasions at the ranch where you drank?
No.
How long were you downstairs in the wine cellar?
10 minutes.
Did they all leave in 10 minutes or did just you leave?
Well, we all went up.
Where did you go?
Back up to the arcade.
Did you take your cups with you, or did you leave them down there? Tell me what you did with your cup.
Well, I drank some, and then we went upstairs and I just left it on the counter.
A counter where?
In the arcade there's a counter, and you could just I just put it right there, and there's like a slushy machine there next to it.
A what?
A slushy machine next to it. It's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just a counter, and then behind it there's like a fake cash register and stuff.
You put your cup there?
Uh-huh.
Now, with regard to the other individuals that were in the cellar, let's talk about them one by one. Okay.
Yes.
You came up the stairs and put your cup on the counter there.
Yeah.
With regard to the defendant, Michael Jackson, did he come up the stairs at the same time as you?
Well, yeah, one after another.
And so everybody came upstairs?
Yeah.
Everybody at the same time?
Yeah.
When you all got upstairs and you were all back in this arcade area, what went on then?
They just listened. Well, we all listened to music and then they were playing some games.
By they, who do you mean?
Well, all of us. Gavin, Star, and then Mr. Jackson was listening to music.
Did Mr. Jackson stay there?
Yes.
Now, with regard to the cups that everybody had downstairs, can you tell us whether anybody besides yourself brought their cups upstairs?
Everybody did.
When you were up there, did you see whether or not the people who brought their cups upstairs continued to use those cups and continued to drink?
I saw them sipping on it and drinking it. I don't know when they stopped but from what I saw, they kept drinking it.
Did you see your brother Gavin drinking upstairs?
Yeah.
And your brother Star?
Yeah.
And Aldo?
Yeah.
And how about the defendant?
Yes.
How long were you up there in the arcade with them that time?
Not very long because it was already night and I was tired, so I didn't stay there very long.
When you left the arcade that night, can you tell us whether or not anybody left with you?
No, they stood there.
I'm sorry.
No, they stood there.
Now, when you came up the stairs out of the cellar.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a door to that cellar?
What do you mean, like, door? Like when you walk down the stairs, I don't remember seeing a door. That's not the actual wine cellar. You got to go to the right, and there's a little room and that's where the wine bottles are at.
Okay. When you came back up out of the wine cellar into the other room and up the stairs into the arcade. Okay.
They just put the jukebox back.
Pardon?
They just put the jukebox back. That's what blocks the staircase.
That's what I'm asking. You're way ahead of me. So there is a jukebox up there.
Yeah.
And where did it go?
It blocks the staircase.
Okay. And did they put it back?
Yeah.
Do you remember who put it back?
No, I don't remember. I just remember it got put back.
Now, during the time that you were at Neverland Valley Ranch, did you ever go into Mr. Jackson's bedroom?
During the stay at Neverland Ranch, yes, I did once.
How many times?
Once.
And do you remember when it was that you went into his bedroom, in terms of how long you'd been there once you got back from Miami?
Objection. Misstates the evidence. Leading question.
Sustained as to misstates the evidence. Just rephrase it.
You told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that you had been in Mr. Jackson's bedroom on one occasion.
Yes.
This is at the ranch.
Yes.
All right. When, in point in time, was it that you went into his bedroom? Was it in the daytime or in the nighttime?
It was in the nighttime.
And was it before? Was it after you arrived back from Miami?
Yeah.
So it was during that time frame.
Yes.
Now, would you tell us the circumstances under which you got into Mr. Jackson's bedroom?
I went after the boys, because there's no way I could get into the room unless it was after them.
Why is that?
Because there's a code to get into his room.
Did you have the code?
No.
And you said the boys went. You followed the boys.
Yes.
Was there anybody with the boys?
Aldo was there, I think. I think Mr. Jackson was already in the room. I'm not sure.
So you followed them into the room, in any case?
Yeah.
Okay. Describe what you saw when you got into the room.
There's a couch.
Lean into the mic. Nice and loud, please.
There's a couch there. There's a music thing. There's a little game that's all I remember. And then if you go straight back, there's his bathroom, and then right up next to the door of the bathroom there's, like, a desk and it has a phone on there.
Now, when you followed the boys into the room, what part of the room did you go into at first?
Just that front area. I guess it's like a living room type.
And how long were you there?
10 minutes. Not that long.
And Mr. Jackson was there?
Yeah. I don't remember. I just remember us like sitting and me looking around, like, because I'd never been in there before.
Okay. Did you ever go upstairs?
Yes. I went upstairs after.
And when you got upstairs, describe the upstairs to me.
There's a bed in the middle and then there's a little nightstand. There's a bunch of figurines. When you first walk up the stairs, like, a bunch of like toys and like figurines right here. And then there's a screen that can be pulled down to watch movies. That's all I remember.
Do you remember whether the screen was down or up at the time you went in?
I think it was down already.
Now, who was in the bedroom?
Mr. Jackson, Gavin, Star, Aldo and me.
Okay. Where was Mr. Jackson in the room?
Well, after we all got settled, Mr. Jackson was laying on the bed, and then Gavin was next to him, and then Star. That's what I remember.
Do you remember where Aldo was?
I think he was sitting on like the corner of the bed. And I was sitting on a chair.
Go ahead.
I was sitting on a chair.
When you walked into that room that time, did you see any alcohol in the room?
Yes. I saw empty bottles or half-full bottles.
Of what?
Of alcohol. I know the shape of bottles, but I don't know what they were, like the names.
Where did you see it?
Some were on the nightstand. Some were on the desk, like a stand where the computer was. Some were on that, where the figurines were.
Okay. I've got a couple more photographs I'm going to show you before you get to step down. People 75, do you recognize that?
Yes.
And is that an accurate depiction of what the room looked like?
Yeah. It's real, messier.
So we'll talk about that in just a moment. And people 76, do you recognize that?
Yes.
And is that an accurate depiction?
Yeah. There's some extra things, but that's pretty much how it was.
Okay. Move that 75 and 76 be admitted into evidence, Your Honor.
They're admitted.
All right. I'd like to have 75 put up on. All right. With regard to the exhibit, people 75, do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that?
That's where I kept saying where there was figurines there.
Lean into the mic.
That's where I kept saying there was figurines like in that area.
Now, do you see things that are different in that photograph now than when you were there, that you recall?
I don't remember seeing that TV. It wasn't as messy.
Okay. Now, do you see locations in that photograph, people 75, in which you saw the bottles that you thought were liquor?
Like there was some right here. There was some, like, where there was enough stability to put them. Like anywhere there was, like, stability to put one there, because it looks different. I don't know.
Go ahead and put the light on where you put it the first time, and let's talk about that.
Like, they were on the nightstands.
Okay. And leave the light on. Okay. On the nightstand on the left-hand side of the bed.
And there was some on the other side nightstand, too.
Were there any bottles located on this side of the room that's depicted in people 75, that you recall?
Yeah. There was some, well, when, this was not as messy. There was some right here, and then there was one or two right there.
Okay. Let's go to the next exhibit. That exhibit is people 76. Do you see that?
Yes.
All right. Now, is there anything that's in that photograph that wasn't there when you were there?
The crib and this was. I don't remember seeing that.
So by this, do you mean there's a little object that looks like it has a screen that's directly underneath a lamp or between a lamp and the crib?
Yes.
And that wasn't there, to your recollection?
I don't remember.
And what was the other thing?
The crib wasn't there.
All right. Now, indicate to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Could you indicate where it was that Mr. Jackson was inside the room when you saw him?
Right here.
And where was Gavin?
Next to him.
So let's go back to Mr. Jackson. If you'd put the red light up there again. On people 76, you're indicating on the far left-hand side of the bed.
Yes.
And next to him was Gavin.
Yes.
And then where was your brother Star?
He was on the other end, but I'm trying to remember. I think his son was there too. Like in between Star and Gavin. I'm trying to remember.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
And where on that exhibit, people's number 76, did you see bottles?
There was some more on this nightstand, and then if you face the other way.
Lean into the microphone. Go ahead.
If you face the other way, like, facing that way, there was a computer to the left of the TV screen. It used to be a computer right there. There was some right there.
And what was the computer on?
On a stand, I guess. I don't remember.
All right. Do you remember how long you were there in the room with Mr. Jackson and the boys before you left?
45 minutes.
Couldn't hear you.
45 minutes.
Do you remember what was going on?
Well, we started watching a movie.
Do you remember the movie?
No. It was just, I remember it had subtitles. I just remember it had subtitles.
And how were you watching the movie? Was it on
that big screen that you pull down.
Okay. Now, when you left Mr. Jackson's room, did the boys leave with you or did you go by yourself?
I left by myself.
Did anybody else leave with you at that time?
No.
Where did you go?
I went to my room.
Now, we can take that down now, if you want. And turn the lights on, would be fine, Your Honor. You told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that there was a time that you went to that Calabasas hotel that you identified in those photographs.
Yes.
Now, while you were at that particular hotel, okay. Did you go anywhere with Frank Tyson or Vinnie Amen?
Yes.
Where did you go?
They took us to go get passports.
Did you go with them?
Yes.
Where else?
That's all I remember right now.
Did you ever go shopping?
Oh, we did go shopping one time.
Where did you go?
We went to like an outlet place to go pick up some luggages. And then we went to the mall and picked up some clothes.
And what was the reason you went shopping?
They told us we were going to Brazil.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Because they told us we were going to Brazil.
Who told you that?
Frank. And then earlier on Dieter had already said that.
Did they say why you were going to Brazil?
Because they said that, to get us away because there was death threats on us.
Who told you that?
Dieter. And then Frank told me another time, also.
And you mentioned earlier in your testimony that you had made a trip to the Laugh Factory.
Yes.
Okay. Where is the Laugh Factory? Do you know?
It's in Hollywood.
And do you remember, was it during the time you were at Calabasas or some other time?
I think it was during that time.
Now, who went to the Laugh Factory?
We all, Vinny, my mom, my brothers and me went to the Laugh Factory. But my mom and Gavin were the only ones that got off.
Got off? What do you mean, got off?
Got off the car and went to go see Jamie. Because Vinny told us to stay.
Just slow down. Let's take it one at a time. Okay. Make sure we got all the characters here. You got into a car. You left from Calabasas, and you went to the Laugh Factory.
Yeah.
Who's in the car?
Vinny, me, my mom, and my brothers.
Alright. Now, you get to the Laugh Factory. Who leaves the car?
My mom and my brother Gavin.
Okay. Now, did Vinny tell you something at that point in time?
He told me and Star to stay.
Did he say why?
No.
So your mother and Gavin went inside?
Yes.
Now, did you ever go inside during that trip?
Yes, because Vinny, sorry.
That's all right. We'll take it one step at a time. So you went inside. Now, how long had it been before? How long were you in the car with your brother and with this Vinny person that you've identified in the photograph before you went inside?
About 15 minutes. About 15 minutes.
Okay. Now, what happened? Why was it that you went inside?
Because Vinny kept saying, "Where's your mom? Where's your mom? Go get her." Because he was, I don't know, impatient. He wanted us to leave.
Did he know, to your knowledge, who your mother was meeting with?
Just Jamie.
Now, when you went, you told the jury you went inside. Do you want some water?
Yeah.
Alright. Did Star go in with you?
No.
Why?
Vinny told him to stay.
So he let you go, but he kept Star.
Yes.
Alright. Now, you went inside. And when you went inside, who did you see?
I saw Gavin, my mom and Bill.
Okay. Anybody else?
That was it.
Now, the person you've identified as Bill.
Yes.
Had you ever met him before?
Never.
This is the first time you met him?
Yes.
How long were you inside with your mother and Gavin and this person you've identified as Bill?
5 minutes, because I just ran in and told my mom what Vinny told me to tell her.
So after that, did you leave the Laugh Factory?
Yes. And I went back outside.
Who came with you?
My mom and Gavin stood there a little bit longer and then they came out.
While you were at the Laugh Factory that day, did you ever see Jamie Masada?
Yeah, he was sitting right there.
Right where?
With my mom and Gavin and Bill.
So he was there?
Yeah.
So how long do you think in total that it was that your mother was indeed with this person Bill and Jamie Masada?
I think about 30 minutes.
Now, after you came out of the Laugh Factory, where did you get back in the car?
Yes.
And your mother and Gavin came out at some point, I would assume.
Yeah.
You all got in the car?
Yeah.
And where did you go? Do you remember?
I think we went back in the hotel in Calabasas.
Now, let's talk about the Calabasas Hotel for just a moment. Okay.
Okay.
Do you remember any of the buildings or locations that were around the Calabasas Hotel?
There was a shopping center across the street, I think. It had like a Ralph's in it, I think. I don't really remember. I just saw it when we were driving by.
Did you ever go over to the shopping center?
No.
Why?
Didn't leave the hotel room.
Why?
I don't know. Vinny and Frank said not to leave.
Did you ever go down? Does the Calabasas, does it have a swimming pool?
Yeah.
Did you ever go down swimming?
No.
Why?
We couldn't leave the room, so we didn't even bother to ask, because we know it would be no.
To your knowledge, does the lobby of the hotel have like these machines where you can get Cokes and candy or treats or stuff in it?
They have set out on a counter, like coffee and little muffins and stuff.
And did you ever go down to get any of that?
Yeah.
And is that when you saw this person sitting in the lobby?
Well, when we had first got there, Vinny introduced us to him and said that he was supposed to be there to keep us safe and stuff.
Did you ever go downstairs to try to get anything?
Yeah, we did one time.
What happened?
They just said not to leave the room. They seemed kind of irritated about it.
Who's that?
Frank.
And when you say that they took you to get a passport, did you actually physically go with somebody to do that?
Yeah, Vinny's the one that took us.
And do you know where you went?
No, all I know was it was an office place. I don't know.
And were there any other places that you went? Do you recall?
Other than to go get clothes and luggage, no.
Alright, in that big binder that's right there in front of you. Why don't we just clear the area? Your Honor, if you don't mind, I could just, counsel. Off-the-record discussion held at counsel table. Your Honor, there have been. I will direct the court's attention to the book that it has, and in particular to Exhibits 260 and 261 that have been pre-marked for identification purposes.
I have them.
And 262, Your Honor, is a series of passport applications that have been duly certified by the United States government. And, in fact, they've been signed off by Colin Powell. May those be admitted into evidence?
No objection, Your Honor.
They're admitted.
And then with regard to the second set, Your Honor, they are a set of documents of visas from the Republic of Brazil. And those are also accompanied by the certification of the Brazilian consulate. And I ask that those be admitted into evidence as 262.
May I just see those for a second?
Sure. Off-the-record discussion held at counsel table.
No objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
Okay. Now, why don't you let me have these? Your Honor, with the court's permission and counsel's permission, I would like to use the originals of these documents to be displayed on the Elmo, rather than copies. Because the copies, the Xeroxing.
No objection, Your Honor.
Is it okay? I would ask some questions to the witness, and perhaps I could give the witness the Xerox copies which I've shown to counsel with the Bates stamp numbers.
No objection to that.
I have a question about my numbers on the exhibits. Lorna, is it?
I have a question also, Judge.
According to our pre-marked exhibits, 261 and 262 are not.
No, it's 260 and 261. If I misspoke myself, I apologize.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me. Just for bookkeeping purposes, Your Honor, what has been admitted as 260 and 261 and not 262?
Correct.
Thank you.
With the court's permission, I wanted to use the Elmo. I don't know if you need to use a toggle switch or do something.
Input 4.
Alright, we have up on the board document 260. Yes, 260. Alright, do you recognize that document?
Yes.
Do you recognize the photograph of the person on that document?
Yes.
That's you, huh?
Yes.
Alright, now, with regard to the writing that is on that particular document, is that your handwriting?
No.
With regard to the signature where it says, applicant, underneath the photograph, is that your handwriting?
I don't remember signing it.
Does it look like your handwriting?
No.
With regard to, do you see on the document the, just a moment? Looking on the document, 260, right over in this area here, do you see that?
Yeah.
Does it indicate the destination there, where you're going?
Yeah.
What's it say?
Italy and France.
Did you ever put that in there?
No.
Have you ever heard you were going to Italy or France?
No.
Did you see this document filled out?
Yeah.
Who filled it out?
Vinny did.
Did you give him the information to put in there?
I don't remember. I think he asked my mom for it.
And do you know why you were making this application?
Well, they told us we were going to Brazil.
Were you interested in going to Brazil?
Not really.
Okay. Now, why don't you direct your attention to 261 for just a second, if you would, the other document. Okay. Do you have that in mind?
Yes.
That's your photograph again, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember having that photograph taken?
Yeah, now I remember. They took us to Walgreens to take pictures.
When you say, they, who took you to Walgreens?
Vinny did.
So it was just Vinny.
Yeah.
And where was the Walgreens?
It was near Calabasas. I don't remember where.
And who did they take to get the photographs?
Me, my mom and my brothers.
All at the same time?
Yes.
Alright. Now, on this particular information, on this particular document that we're referring to, 261, there's a lot of printing on it. Is that your printing?
No.
You didn't fill that out?
No.
And the information for this, do you know where it came from? Were you present when it was put on there?
Yeah.
Alright. And how did that information get conveyed onto this document? Who wrote it?
Well, Vinny wrote it, but he was asking my mom.
He didn't ask you, he asked your mother.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. I think we can. Wait just a second, Your Honor. We're going to move the document up just a little farther. Okay. Do you recognize the signature at the bottom by the seal? Right there. And we're talking now about the lower left-hand portion of the document, if you're looking at it from the top.
I think that's Vinny's signature. I'm not sure.
I couldn't hear you.
I think that's Vinny's signature. I'm not sure.
Okay. Alright. Let's turn the lights on now, Your Honor. Now, you said that during the time that you were at Calabasas, that you recall at least one trip where you went shopping for clothes and a suitcase, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you have clothes with you at the ranch?
Yeah, but a couple. Not really anything.
And where were your belongings?
They were in my guest room, where I was staying at.
Alright. And then with regard to your other belongings that weren't at the ranch, where were they?
They were some of them were at the Soto apartment. And most of them were more at my grandmother's house.
Now, why would some of them have been at your grandmother's house?
Because I had to stay with my grandmother, because she needed me.
So you were still going to school at
Roosevelt.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Why did your grandmother need you?
Because she had gotten surgery on her ankle. They had to move something, I forgot what it was, and she couldn't really walk. And my grandfather's a truck driver, so she didn't have anybody but me. Her other granddaughter, she lives too far. And I'm her only other granddaughter.
Speaking of your grandmother and your grandfather. Your grandfather's a trucker.
Yeah.
Who does he work for?
He works for Ralph's.
How long has he done that, to your knowledge?
Since he was 18 years old.
And your grandmother?
Yes.
Does she speak English?
No, not at all.
But your grandfather does.
Yeah, he speaks English and Spanish.
Now, do you remember how many days it was that you stayed at the Calabasas Inn?
3 days. 4 days. I don't remember. About that.
I'm sorry.
About 3 days, I think.
Do you remember whether you were in the same room the entire time?
No, we went to another one.
So do you remember the room numbers at all?
No, I just remember one was on top of the other.
So one was on a higher floor. They were not on the same floor.
No.
Okay, let's do it this way. With regard to the first room you went into, was it on the lower floor or the higher floor?
I think it was on the one on the higher floor.
And then you went to the one on the lower floor.
The next floor.
Were one of the rooms bigger than the others?
Yeah.
What was the difference?
One of them had one more bed. Yeah.
Did they both have kitchens?
Yeah, they both had kitchens.
And do you know, when you moved floors, whether or not, to your personal knowledge, Vinny or Frank changed their room?
Yes.
And how did they change their room? I don't mean how. They didn't go downstairs. But, I mean, were they on the same floor as you folks?
Yes.
Now, when you go back, after Calabasas. You're finished at Calabasas. Okay. Let me just ask you a few more questions about Calabasas. You're at Calabasas. And I saw in that photograph that you identified that it has a kitchen unit.
Yes.
Did your mom cook while you were there?
No.
So you didn't use the kitchen unit?
No.
So how did you get your meals?
They would either bring it to us. I think one time we did go out to eat. But most of the time everything was brought to us by the bodyguard guy.
So you were in your room and they brought the food?
Yeah.
Alright. Now, after Calabasas, after you left the Calabasas Inn, okay. Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where you went.
We went back to Neverland.
Back to where?
Neverland.
And how did you get there?
They took us. Vinny did.
Now, during the time, let me go back to just one point. During the time that you were at the Calabasas Inn, you've told us that Vinny was there. Was Frank Tyson ever there?
Yeah, he came at one point.
Do you remember how long he was there for?
I don't remember. I think a day or two.
So it was not on a consistent basis.
No, it was mostly Vinny that stood there.
Okay. When I asked that, I mean, was he there all of that day, or was he in and out that day? To your knowledge, what you saw?
I don't know. We were in our room.
Okay. Fair enough. So you were taken back to the ranch by Vinny?
Yes.
And when you get back to the ranch, do you remember whether it's dark or whether it's daylight?
I think it was daylight.
And when you got to the ranch, where did you go?
Went to go put our stuff away. And I went to put my stuff in the room, guest room.
So you were back in the guest room?
Yeah.
And your mother?
She went back to her same room.
Now, and during that period of time, and during that day at some point, did you see Mr. Jackson?
I don't remember.
Do you remember where your brothers were when they got back to the ranch?
I don't remember seeing them.
They weren't with you, in any case.
Yeah.
And you were where? In your room?
Yeah.
The entire time?
No, I went out to go, like, eat and stuff, and go drive around and go to the arcade.
Did you see them during that time?
I don't really remember.
Okay. Do you remember an occasion after you came back from Calabasas? I'll get away from that. At any time while you were at Neverland Ranch, did you ever go on a trip to Toys R Us?
Yes.
Do you remember, in relationship to your time that you spent at Neverland Valley Ranch, when that was?
I don't remember.
I mean, was it like early on, late on, in the middle? Do you remember?
In the middle, and later on, like somewhere in there.
Do you remember who you went with?
Mr. Jackson, Aldo, Marie Nicole, Gavin, Star, me, Frank went, Chris, the bodyguard went also, I think.
Who?
Chris, Mr. Jackson's bodyguard also.
A guy by the name of Chris.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had picked up some fans also.
Where did you pick up some fans?
Driving down the road, like before we made a turn. They were on the corner.
Is this on the ranch premises or off the premises?
Off.
And how many of them went with you?
I don't really remember how many there were. I just remember that one boy.
And then you went where? Do you remember what town you went to go to Toys R Us?
I don't remember.
How far it was?
20 minutes. I don't remember. It wasn't close by, though.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't close by, though.
And how long were you there at the store?
45 minutes. 30 minutes.
What was going on?
They were just getting toys and we were just shopping.
Who was?
Everybody that went.
So everybody was buying things?
Yeah.
What did you buy?
I think I got some roller skates.
So after this trip to the toy store, where did you go?
Back to the ranch.
Now, with your brother, his cancer's been in remission, you said.
Yes.
And to your knowledge, does your brother still have to go back and see the doctor periodically?
Yes, he does.
How often?
Well, now that they.
Let me.
Back then.
Yeah, back then.
Okay, he would have to go every so many weeks. Because they were monitoring his kidney.
And was there something that he had to do in connection with that monitoring?
Yes, he did.
What was that?
He would have to pee in a bottle for 2 days or 24 hours, something like that.
And have you ever seen this bottle?
Yes, I have.
Could you describe it to us?
It's about this height, of this.
Of the water container there.
Yes. And then it has a thick handle, it's plastic. And it's got a real secure, top.
Now, while you were at the ranch, did you receive any information, don't tell me what it was, that caused you to go looking for your brothers about the trip to the hospital?
Yes.
From who was it that you got the information?
My mother.
And did you do something as a result of that information?
Yes.
And what did you do?
I went to Mr. Jackson's because there's 2 doors. A door that goes straight into the room and there's a door that goes into a hallway that goes into his room. That door, I was knocking and pounding on.
Okay. When you say, that door, I'm not exactly clear yet. Talk about that again.
Because there's a door that goes straight into his room. That's the one that has the code on it.
Right.
Then there's a door down. That's on the hallway, in the front of the hallway. That door was locked.
Okay.
So I was pounding on that door.
You were pounding on that door. So you never got into the hallway.
No, it was locked.
And did anybody ever come to the door?
No.
Did you go back? Where did you go after that?
I went to my mom and told her that, they're not letting me in, that, they're not answering.
Now, after the day after the incident where you were pounding on the door. Okay. Did you see your mother leave the ranch?
Yeah, Gavin and Vinny were taking Gavin to his doctor's appointment.
Did you actually see them leave?
Yes.
Do you know whether it was in the morning or the afternoon or?
It was in the morning.
And did you actually see them get into the car?
Yes.
Did you see whether or not at that point in time Gavin had his bottle full of urine?
Yes.
And who was actually physically carrying the bottle at that point?
I think Gavin was carrying it at the beginning, but he passed it to my mom.
Now, did you see where they were seated in the car?
Gavin was sitting in the back and my mom was in the front and Vinny was driving.
And was it at this point, when your mom was in the front of the car, could you tell us whether or not she had the bottle at that point?
I think she did, because right before they got in the car, that's when Gavin passed the bottle to him, to my mom.
So I take it you just saw them drive off?
Yeah.
Now, later that day, did you see your brother Gavin?
Yes.
After he had gone to the hospital?
Yes.
Was he back on the ranch?
Yes.
Did you see him drive up or?
Vinny drove him up.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So where were you when you saw Vinny and your brother come back?
I was in front of the main house.
Was your mother with them?
No.
All right. When your brother got out of the car, where did he go?
I think he went to go look for Mr. Jackson.
I'm sorry.
I think he went to go look for Mr. Jackson. I don't remember.
But your mother wasn't there.
No.
Now, during the time that you were at the ranch, and the boys were at the ranch, and Mr. Jackson was at the ranch.
Yeah.
Talking about that period once you come back from Miami. All right. Just speaking for yourself. Okay. Was there a difference in the relationship between you and your brothers?
Yes.
Objection. Vague.
Sustained.
You've described yourself to the jury already as a close family, correct?
Yes.
All right. Was there anything that changed with regard to that description that you've given the jury about the closeness of the family between you and your brothers?
Yes.
Objection. Vague.
Overruled.
Yes.
Would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what it is?
Me and my brother are very, very close. When, during this all, it just felt like he didn't want to be near me. He didn't really want to really talk to me. He didn't really want to talk to me. He didn't want to be near me. It just felt weird. And me being his older sister, I just knew something. I don't know. Just felt weird.
Anything else about his behavior that changed, that you noticed?
He didn't really want to talk to me. He was very distant. He just didn't want to even see my mom. He just thought differently.
Now, after your brother and Vinny came back from the hospital trip. Okay. At some point in time after that, did you have a telephone conversation with your mother?
Yeah.
And as a result of the telephone conversation with your mother, did you do something?
Yes.
What did you do?
I packed all of our stuff and I just threw everything together. My stuff was pretty much already together. Just the boys' clothes were everywhere.
And what did you do with the boys' clothes?
Put them back in suitcases.
Now, when you talked to your mother on the phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Was anybody present with you?
No.
And at any point in time, were you present when your mother was talking to anybody else at the ranch on the phone before you packed your bags?
I don't remember.
Now, when you come out after packing your bags, do you know where you're going?
I'm going to my grandparents' house.
And did anything happen when you came out?
Came out of the ranch, or?
No. You packed your bags, you're going to get a ride, and you're going back to your grandparents' house, right?
Uh-huh.
Before you left, did anything happen?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell the jury what happened.
Well, Vinny came, or I think it was Frank came up to me and said, just leave that suitcase. And.
Objection. Hearsay.
It's offered under 223, Your Honor.
All right. It will be conditionally accepted.
All right. Lean into the microphone.
Well, Frank had told me, just leave that suitcase. And Gavin said, yeah, just leave it. It was Gavin's things in there.
And did you leave the suitcase?
Yeah.
And to your knowledge, did you ever get that suitcase back?
No.
You didn't see it come back?
I don't remember getting it back.
When you left the ranch, who left?
Me and my brothers.
Do you know who took you?
Either Frank or Vinny. I don't remember.
Where did they take you?
To my grandparents' house.
When you got to your grandparents' house, who was there?
My mom and my grandparents. I think Jay was there, too.
Who?
I think Jay was there, too.
Now, did you ever go back to Neverland Valley Ranch after that?
No.
Take our afternoon break now.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow morning. Remember the admonitions.